Hi guys, it's Granny Tana speaking. Welcome to this FS25 mod presentation video. My garden mod has finally been released at Modhub for all platforms, and I'll provide a link in the description below, or you can find it in the in-game Modhub. And here I show you my garden mod. It works similar than the greenhouses, but bigger and more variety. And yeah, we have the normal sized garden, and we have two bigger types, and we have two decorated types. And I'll show you the basic functions with this normal sized garden, and then I'll show you the other one. Yeah, so the main difference is obvious because this is an open air garden usually, and the greenhouses are greenhouses, but there are other differences. For example, you can grow much more crop types in here. We just go there. And you can grow carrots, chili, garlic, grapes, green beans, lettuce, Napa cabbage, olives, parsnips, peas, potatoes, red beets, spinach, spring onions, strawberries, sunflowers, and tomatoes. So you can grow all kind of the normal greenhouse stuff, but also all the vegetables and potatoes and sunflowers and grapes and olives. So there's a big variety what you can grow. And each crop type has two possibilities. So you can just grow them just with water, or you choose a recipe with seeds and fertilizer, and then you have double the amount of yield, but you have to add a little bit of seed and fertilizer. And so in the end, if you have a limited amount of space, you can get double the amount of production from your gardens, but you have to pay for the seeds and fertilizer. And yeah, I calculated the recipes so that you earn a little bit more than with the tomatoes. The lettuce stays the most profitable crop in the gardens, but the tomatoes, which are number 2, I thought I take those as measure, and then I calculated all the other ones that you can get if you have the yield and what money you get, that it is at least as much as with the tomatoes. So you get quite a lot of money from all crop types that are added. And if you want this only to make the most money out of it, then stay with the lettuce. Okay, and here we have some additional functions. As those greenhouses or gardens work through the whole winter, it would be unrealistic if this open air garden would be only open air, because then when it's winter time and the sunflowers are still blooming and everything is green and lush, that would be too unrealistic. Therefore I thought, okay, I make a hidden greenhouse that you can raise with this switch, and you can raise this whenever you want. So if you decide in October now it's time for the greenhouse, then you can just raise it, and in springtime you can lower it again. Or you can always have it as greenhouse, or never. So yeah, as you like. And then there is another feature, and usually those fences don't have collisions, so you can just run through this. And that has a reason. But if you want to have a collision, then you can raise a collision. It's invisible, like all collisions are, but now you can't go through the fence anymore. And you can lower it again. And now you can run through this. And yeah, you might think, why not just making a collision for the fences? That would be easy. Yes, it would. But those gardens are not only available with fences, but there are other varieties. I go into the build menu and I'll show you the principle with the normal sized garden. So here in factories and then greenhouses, and here the price for the normal sized garden is $8,000. So it's much cheaper than the greenhouses, but usually it doesn't have a greenhouse active. And I thought just for some fences and some boxes with soils, 8,000 would be enough. Yeah. And I just place it that we don't get an error message, and you can configure it or customize it. And now we have the option with fence and garden beds, and you can choose with no fence and garden beds, or fence but no garden beds. Then you have those garden beds without wood around, and some people like their garden beds better like that, or no fence and no garden bed. And if you choose this option, you have to pay $2,000 less. And here we have the reason why I didn't add a collision to the fences, because when you choose this customizing those configurations, I can't activate or deactivate a collision. So if the fence would have collision, then even when you choose this variant, there would be a collision. And it would be very strange if you had this variation and you are always stopped when you want to run here or there. And therefore I thought, okay, then I make everything without collision. But if you want a collision because you have a fence, then you can raise it up. So, and yeah, as we are already flying, I can show you the other greenhouses. Here we have the greenhouse that has 4 times the size, and it produces 4 times as much stuff. And yeah, like with the other greenhouses, you have the choice to only grow 1 crop or several, but they share the capacity. So if you grow 16 crops or so, then you don't produce 16 times as much, because the place for such a garden is limited. And so if you only grow lettuce, then everything is full of lettuce and you get the full potential of the lettuce. But if you grow lettuce and potatoes, they share the capacity, which is normal. And here with the bigger greenhouse, this is 16 times the size of the normal sized greenhouse garden, and it produces 20 times as much. I thought 20 times would be nice, because if you have such a huge garden, usually you work more efficiently and therefore you get a little productivity boost. And yeah, those type of gardens are in a way very realistic. It's called micro farming, and it was always done, but in our days it's got this fancy name. And yeah, so people who only have a small field, so to say, they can use their field for growing vegetables and such. And then you can make much more money on a small field than if you grow crops or so, grain, wheat and such. And therefore it's a possibility to have your income, good income, with a rather small piece of land. And this is the idea behind this big garden. Yeah, and then I thought, if you don't want to have your garden to make an insane amount of money, but you just want to have a nice garden that is still producing quite a lot of stuff, then you could have this garden. It's an allotment garden. And yeah, this garden works like the normal sized garden, but here you see decoration and a little hut, a walk-in hut. So if it's raining, you could imagine to sit here to stay dry. And here we have a little pond and yeah, all kinds of nice things. Here you can imagine to sit with your friends and have a nice grill evening. And here I left a little place you could put some seed bags or so. And then when I was done with this garden, I liked it a lot, and I discovered that it has a lot of slots. So for console players who already have quite a lot of vehicles and such, this could be too heavy on the slot side. And then I thought, okay, then I make a second decorative garden, which is more minimalistic and has less slots. And this is this here. I have less different types of flowers, but still flowers. And the slots are always counted for the texture size, and if you have a lot of different stuff, then the texture size is bigger than if you repeat the use of these textures. And that is what I did with the hut. So we have those garden beds, and the hut is built from the same wood type, and therefore it's very cheap slot-wise. Yeah, so we still have the hut, the pond, and this bench area here. And I still like it. I think it's rather nice, and maybe some of you even might prefer it, because this is a little bit overground, so a lot of different decorative stuff, and this is more minimalistic. And yeah, and it has less slots. But the gardening functions are the same. And I didn't mention the water well. We have a little water well that it's a separate object, but you can place it beside the unload trigger, and then it's rather easy to fill it up with water, the garden, with free water. And here we have the distributor, and it works like a production, and it distributes water, seeds and fertilizer and manure. And Yeah, so you only need to fill this up with water, and then it distributes it to all gardens and productions that need water. But if you have other productions that have a big water storage, this might be a little bit difficult. So the distributing function doesn't work good in Farming Simulator. But if you only have gardens and greenhouses, that might work really good. And there is one other thing. I told you about this fertilizer recipes, and I forgot to mention that if you put manure here into the gardens, all kinds of gardens, then it will be transformed to fertilizer, and you can use the fertilizer recipes. I made that we don't have so many recipes, and I thought, if I have this fill type converter, which I added to all the unloading stations, then you could use manure and still use the fertilizer recipes. And the manure is transformed from 5 parts manure to 1 part fertilizer, because that is how the ratio of the prices of fertilizer and manure are. So manure is a very cheap thing and fertilizer rather expensive, and therefore the manure is reduced in divided by 5. Okay. Yeah, that's about my garden mod. Finally in Modhub. Okay. If you want to buy FS25 or a DLC, feel free to use my code OMATANA. You'll find the link for the PC version in the video description. It doesn't cost you anything extra and supports me a lot. Now I wish you a wonderful day, thank you for watching, and all the best till next time. Tschüss!